Hi Gina.
Hi Ione. Hi everyone. I'm Gina, the senior editor of Polyester.
And I'm Ione, the founding editor-in-chief of Polyester, and this is the Polyester Podcast, a feminist pop culture podcast dissecting the discourse on a weekly basis.
Before we start, if you're a fan of this podcast, please make sure to like, rate, subscribe and review. And if you really love us, you can sign up for a podcast membership where you can join our WhatsApp chat, get access to our research each week and get on our Instagram close friends for only £3 a month. We now also have Non-Threatening Boys, our Substack, which will have its own secret monthly podcast episode.
Yeah.
Do we have any reviews?
We do 5 stars. I'm hooked. Love listening to Ione and Gina chat about the latest social topics, pop culture and more serious or feminist issues on the pod. Their dialogue is fun, insightful, and offers a critical perspective on thought-provoking issues with just the right amount of context and detail behind every well-researched item. I really look forward to listening every Monday on my silly little walks for my silly little mental health. Plus, Gina has a really calming, relaxing voice that makes me feel meditation emoji. Keep up the good work, girls. That is from Claire on Apple Podcasts in the UK. Yeah, very, very nice.
That's very sweet.
Especially nice for you.
I think no one's ever called me calm in the history of my life.
That's true.
I think shrill is usually the word attributed.
I wouldn't say shrill.
Quite high-pitched.
What does shrill even mean?
Like high-pitched, like jarringly high-pitched, innit?
No, I don't think you're that high-pitched.
Don't think?
No.
When I listen to this back, I'm like, fucking hell, someone's giving that hamster Helia.
Yeah, but your voice always sounds different. Anyway, like to yourself.
You sound lower to yourself usually.
Yeah, I think I have a really low voice.
Yours isn't too high though.
I would say people have said it is to me.
Who?
Just people.
I'll let them.
Anyway.
What are we talking about today, Ione?
How no one can ever be fucking normal. About women's bodies. How we're in a shit show.
We are in a shit show, especially of recent weeks, months, this year, the
My
year
life.
before. Ione's entire life, possibly mine as well. And our mothers' lives, and our grandmothers' lives, and etc., etc.
Since the beginning of time.
Since the beginning of body.
But it's okay, because people used to have their clothes made for them, so it actually used to be fine.
Do you want to explain yourself?
I will. I will. So we were struggling for a topic this week because the discourse is not popping until we scraped onto the surface and realised that we were just obviously not engaging with the discourse that was hellish about women's bodies. So there's been a few things. So Namilia, which is a brand that Polyester have actually supported in the past, in issue 4 or something, we did a photo shoot with them with their graduate collection, because do you remember they did those bikinis that were dicks?
Yeah.
They did a new runway, and they had loads of slogan t-shirts on it which are praying adjacent, I would say, if people know what the praying fashion brand is, which I'm sure you do because I think we've done a whole podcast on it before.
You are.
One of them says, I love Ozempic. One of them says, too pretty for rehab. One of them says something junkies, but
Fashion
I can't read it.
Wars.
Oh, great. Obviously, they kind of made these to evoke this reaction.
Yeah. They're trying to be rage bait irony.
Stop being poor, Paris Hilton vibe.
Which wasn't even me out.
Yeah, I know, it's photoshopped. So they did the I Love Ozempic t-shirt, and then there's been a lot about Hawk Tuah Girl in the past few weeks. Would you like to explain who she is?
Yeah, seeing as I found out this morning.
No, I asked Siam last week.
I've been actively avoiding this woman. Not this woman, not her particularly, but
it's not her fault. Well,
this
no, it's not her
conversation,
fault.
I'm just sick of these people, this format of TikTok. So what happened was, is there was one of those TikToks where men just run up to women on the street and go, what is your sexual preference, whatever, and their one was what's your move to make a guy never forget you? And then she was spit on the thang, too.
Yeah.
About giving a blowjob.
Yeah.
Which I would say, yeah, that's quite standard practice.
Okay.
But yeah, and then they continue talking to her for a bit, and it's part of a 14-minute long video, but obviously
Jesus
they clipped
Christ.
that down
Yeah.
to TikTok soundbites. She was one of them. That was the one off from this channel that went viral. I can't remember the name of the guys who did it.
They're not important.
Yeah, just 2.
Although I did see an article that was the guys who invented Hawk Tuah would like a bit more credit.
They didn't do diddly shit.
Innit? They just picked a person to talk to on the street.
I'm sorry, but someone across the street watched, what's his name, have an apple drop on his head doesn't mean that they're part of the fucking discovery, do they?
Right, yeah, okay.
Same thing. Just because you're around when something happened doesn't mean that you're part, like, you contributed to it.
True.
But yeah, so that's happened, and then it's like fucking spiraled out of control. So she's got like a merch line with like this trucker hat company. She's blown up on socials, obviously. She's got a manager and agent already. She's gone on multiple podcasts to like explain her point of view, and then she's also like now been picked up by the alt-right as like a figurehead, similar to the way that Sydney Sweeney was. She hasn't actually said like her political beliefs anyway. The only thing that she has said was that she wouldn't suck off Donald Trump. Fair enough.
Great. Yeah, so she's been like coded as right wing basically, with like similar people that were talking about Sydney Sweeney kind of like announcing her as the new right wing icon. And there's an article in Slate called How the Right Won the Hawk to a Girl by Luke Winkie. That's a crazy last name for this article.
As a woman who uses a pseudonym, why don't more people do it? And I didn't need to because of nefarious reasons.
No, your last name's not Winky.
No, my name's not Winky Woodle. Tinky Winky La La Dipsy and Poe.
In our podcast in which we are saying do not objectify women, we ascertain our right to objectify men.
Oh, I ascertain my right to objectify fucking silly last names.
Anyway, so it says, I'm not a political scientist, but I don't think there is a better way to symbolise the branding problem that is currently sinking the Democrats to oblivion than the fact that a viral blowjob moment has been immediately codified by the right. This is beyond ironic, as the Trump platform is set to wage an unprecedented war on American sexual freedom. Contraception rights are under siege, abortion access has been curtailed dramatically in many states, state houses are attempting to scrub all pornographic material off the web, and major activists in the party are rallying against what they define as recreational sex. And yet, despite the deeply unseemly and massively unpopular puritanical streak hamstringing the Republican Party, a woman like Welch, which is the last name of Hawk to a Girl, is almost reflexively ushered into the movement. It doesn't make sense. But the thing is, I think if you going back to like our Sydney Sweeney episode, this does make sense because she's like blonde, she's skinny, she's from a southern state, right?
Yeah, she's from a southern state.
She's from a southern state and like
has the accent.
And the right are trying to categorise the left as anti-sex, like through culture wars stuff, like through like Gen Z not wanting sex scenes, through like even body positivity, because they're trying to be like, oh, the left can't appreciate like a beautiful woman when they see her.
And they're trying to say like they want women who enjoy sex. Like that's like a...
Yeah, they're trying to say they want women that enjoy sex because they view sex as like kind of like a subservient thing for women to provide for men rather than like a joint experience or whatever.
Exactly.
And yeah, once again, like that person, like the image of that person is going to portray their values. Like it goes back to obviously just like codified women, like even going back to like rom-coms and the moment that like blonde-haired girls became the like nasty popular ones as opposed to like the innocent ones. So it like goes both ways, I think.
Yeah. It's
anyway.
just really hard to be blonde at the minute. I mean, like the
massive tits,
like,
massive and good blowjob opinions.
Love sex. Like I just find it really difficult to like navigate.
But then on the flip side of this, so I watch The Boys on Amazon, which I literally don't know if anyone else that listens to this podcast does. It is a very popular show, so hopefully some people do. I was trying to make Gina watch it. It's good. I would recommend it, to be honest.
I think it looks like Watchmen.
No, it's not though, really.
But like comedy version.
Well, I didn't watch Watchmen, I'll be honest with you, but it's
I didn't watch it, but I've read it.
Okay.
And the film, you've seen the film?
No.
Really?
No, I really haven't.
I only watched the film because MCR did a cover song for it.
So the main girl in The Boys is played by an actress called Erin Moriarty, and The Boys has like this complicated fandom basically because a huge part of it is a satire of the alt-right, and it's like satirising the culture wars and all of these types of things, and like I would say it's really successful at it, but like perhaps too successful because the alt-right just like genuinely love it as well and like don't see the irony in it and don't see that they're getting the piss taken out of them. They have started to see it more like this season of the show, but anyway, so it attracts some like scummy men watching it basically. And she plays like this girl called Starlight in it who's meant to be like, yeah, like a picture of innocence. She's blonde, she's skinny. I don't know where her character is from. like state-wise in the show. But yeah, she's meant to be like this oracle of goodness, essentially, especially in the beginning. And then she kind of like splinters off from Homelander, who's like the big evil, like Trumpian figure of Vought, which is the superhero like conglomerate that's meant to be like Fox or Disney or whatever. Anyway, so people were like so mean to Erin for like the first 3 seasons. I think it's on season 4 now, saying she had like a doughy face and like a round face, and that like she didn't look like, she wasn't hot, basically. Like she wasn't hot like a superhero should be hot, even though obviously she was, like literally. And even like the showrunner and stuff have said that like as soon as she walked in, they were like, oh, it's her. But then seemingly, although she denies it, but like something's changed about her face, basically. Like people are saying it's buccal fat removal. It could be just like dramatic weight loss and fillers. It could be like lots of different things that like aren't really worth going into, because that's not the point of this. But the point is that she's had like a slew of like trolls and hatred, and like it's not even by individuals, because I watch The Boys and like I don't even search it, so I don't know where this comes from. I get like loads of it fed through to me on Facebook.
I get it as well.
Do you?
Yeah, loads of it.
And it's like literal like actual accounts, like pages or whatever, with like tens of thousands of followers that are literally just posting stuff like ripping into her looks and like calling her ugly, calling her disgusting, saying that she's messed up her face, like all of this stuff. Is just like absolutely vile, and like they're treating her as if she's not human. She's just like this object for them, basically.
Yeah, it's this like weird vitriol against people who get plastic surgery. I'm not saying she has, like I don't really know much about it. It could even just be like fucking filtered, do you know what I mean? But there's like this really like
it's definitely not a filter from watching the show, but yeah.
Sorry. But there's this like puritanical morality thing people have against plastic surgery that's so like weird to watch play out. And it kind of happened when buccal fat surgery was kind of like the trending topic, and everyone was like being like, look at this before and after of like Leah Michelle, and like people just love her before and after, like it's fucking like, and be like they were better before or they're better now. Like there's never just being like seeing those things as just 2 moments in a person's life where they're obviously going to look different.
Yeah, and she said, like, in this piece, which is Erin Moriarty is a Woman Among the Boys by Ashley Spencer for the New York Times, that she literally thought her career was over. The paparazzi began stalking her. She was really worried, like, all of her castmates were worried for her, because it was literally just, like, she's, like, one of the only women in the cast as well, in, like, a very male-dominated cast and, like, a very, like, male-coded show or whatever. But, like, we see this happen all the time. Like, it feels like there's been a kind of, like, we've gone over the precipice of, like, accepting that women can have like not even interior lives, because that's like the wrong thing, but as in women's bodies are their own, like no matter really, not to be like choice feminist, because yes, if she had plastic surgery, that obviously feeds into beauty standards, and like I think that plays into it in this weird like perverse way where women are like, haha, she fucked herself up by trying to look better, like we're all just out here trying and she got it wrong kind of vibe. But like, even did you see Vanessa Hudgens got papped leaving the hospital with her newborn and couldn't announce it herself? Like, it feels like we've gone over a precipice of just like putting women are like the court jesters again in like entertainment and like online and like on TV and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a moment where the tabloid press was kind of like seen as disgusting, but now social media has become the new tabloid press.
And like we do it to everyone, like even Madonna, like with her facelifts, like I think plastic surgery and like Ozempic and all of these things, and like living in a body positivity world in inverted commas, has just like made us feel like we have free reign to talk about anyone exactly how we want to, and because like we're all feeling shitty, so why shouldn't we make celebrities feel shitty? Which is, you know what, eat the rich and all that, but it's like it has a trickle down effect to how like we all feel about our bodies.
Definitely, there's this thing of like using body positivity as a lens to attack these people as well, being like, oh, I can mock her for having plastic surgery because she's ascribing to beauty standards that I'm not gonna. It's so like pick me, like, and just using it as another like angle of attack on women and their bodies and like how they portray themselves, and even like in like a backhanded way a lot of the time as well, being like, look how much like Kourtney Kardashian's refused to bounce back, like look at this picture of her with her sisters who look so slim and sexy, and she's not fucking arsed, is she? She's such a feminist icon. It's like, you know what those words are saying, like you're saying like, oh, she shouldn't feel confident, but we're so proud of her that she does feel confident in that fucking meat sack that she's got on. It's so barbaric. Like, it's people are just like so like unaware of what their words actually mean. Like they've just like picked up on this lexicon of what body positivity is and then like used it as a way to like unconsciously attack each other.
Yeah, 100%. Wait, let's cut to a break and then we'll come back and discuss further.
And we are
back. I think it's interesting on the Kardashians as well because like they're so like meta in it that. So I've been watching the new series like for my sins. So I've seen all the stuff that's been going off online about it, like Kylie crying because people are mean to her about her appearance or whatever, which was in the wake of the Schiaparelli show, I think, which was in January, where everyone was like, whoa, this girl's fucked up her face with filler, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the pillow face thing.
Yeah, and then being like, oh, what? And her being sad about it, and then everyone being like, you invented beauty standards. And it's like, yeah, her family did, and they capitalised off it so much, and so does she with like lip kits. But she was also like 16, and she's been like brought up in the most weird fucking circumstances. Like, I'd like to see any of us be Kylie Jenner and not do exactly what she did, because I fucking would.
I just think like
it's not good for feminism.
Empathy and sympathy aren't black and white. Like, you can like just see things as like I said last time, like there's this grey space that people just refuse to occupy on the internet. Like, you have to have such like a angled opinion, and I think like no one can be like, oh, I feel sorry for her family does this. Both those things can be true, and
she does it too.
She does it too.
Same with Courtney. Like, I think Courtney tried to address this in a recent episode because she like Chris goes over or whatever, and she's gonna go to the Emmys, and so she's trying to find an outfit, and Courtney's like, oh, I can only wear a suit, like that's the only thing that looks good on me at the moment. I'm just going for like a YSL, a smoking vibe. I'm trying not to worry about bouncing back, like I just want to enjoy like having a baby. And Chris is like, yeah, but you do want to bounce back, don't you? And then it like cuts to like Courtney and her like when she had Mason or Penelope, I can't remember which one. I don't even think they say which one it is, but it's like an early noughties like magazine cover, like Courtney bounces back, and then she's like, oh, I've fed into this too, but we're past this now, like we should be better for everyone. It's like, no. What?
But she will be until there's a fucking Lemmy supplement.
Yeah, exactly.
That's gonna, like,
she literally runs a wellness like
brand.
Yeah, like she capitalizes off this. She pretends to be like the like, you know. Anyway, see, it's so easy to get drawn into like individualist criticisms of like
of these women.
And the Kardashians are particularly difficult because they like intersect into capitalism. Like, they're not just like images of women; they are also projections of capitalism because of the businesses that are tied up in it. But I think that's what's really interesting because instead of like saying like, oh, cosmetic surgery is fucked like as a whole, or like, oh, you know, like weight loss drugs are fucked, or oh, they like fashion makes us feel this way, like the Miu Miu skirt made us all want to be skinny, this made us, I mean, speak for yourself, but anyway. We don't really like attack the systems, we just attack the people. So even if it's the Miu Miu skirt, it would be like, oh, X looks amazing in the Miu Miu skirt and it's her fault, like that beauty standards are bad again. And like, we don't have like communal thinking when it comes to beauty standards anymore, which I think is what body positivity has done to us. Like, because so much of body positivity wasn't real body positivity, obviously, like me and you, and like I'm sure lots of people who listen to this know that real body positivity is like fat liberation, and it's community driven, and it's like actually an activist practice and X, Y, and Z. But for most people it was like, love your curves.
Yeah, literally. It's like, do you want to wear some pants that don't actually fit you very well? Go for it, girl.
yeah, exactly. And I feel like that trickles down into like so much. Oh, and another thing that made us want to do this is mixed weight romance on screen. The Forbes article about Penelope and Colin and Bridgerton and Nicola Coughlan being like,
it just makes me want to like hereditary desk myself.
Like, what the fuck is a mixed weight romance?
Mixed weight romance. What the fuck are you on about?
Also, it's so like demoralizing, period. But like, it just like, again, the more we water down these like socially political terms, the more we like water away meaning from them for like the actual communities that need it. Like, if you're in like a mixed ability, like if one of you is disabled, one of you is not, or like, you know, mixed race like couples, like all of these types of things, like are actual kind of, you know, like things that people to navigate. If one of you is fat and one of you is not, that's your own fucking problem. Like, if you have an issue with it, go see a therapist.
Yeah, and just don't fuck a fat person if you don't want it.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Those people do want to fuck fat people and don't want to admit it.
Well, yeah. But it's also like,
And like also
that's such
again,
a wider context. Like why, again, like we've said, like why do people not want to be public with these kinds with relationships with fat people? Why do people not want to date thin people anymore on the other side of the spectrum? Like it's worth analysing how people have come to these decisions about their decisions.
Don't worry, I did loads of that in the last one.
About who they fancy and who they want to fuck and who they want to date. Like how do we come to these decisions? Like people are so weird about that with dating. They're like, it's just my preference. Like that's my dating preference, without ever sitting down and analysing where that preference has come from.
Mm-hmm. And it was also weird because I feel like conversations around this really get we get like mutate, obviously because it's such a mixed bag, but like we mix sexual desire with like aesthetic like goals in inverted commas and like personal style and like identity basically all get mixed into this big soup where one's only valid like if you have the other. So like for example, the whole Erin Moriarty thing is men saying I don't want to fuck you anymore because you look weird, and she's meant to be bothered by that, like after they're saying I don't want to fuck you because you have a round face. It's like, cool, like what if people just don't care if they want to fuck them? And like I feel like this comes back to it as well in a way, because it's like so Navara did a podcast, Skinny is back in fashion for fuck's sake. What's the podcast called, Gina? Like the overall one?
It's called If I Speak.
If I Speak. Okay, fine. And the hosts said, there is so much stigma attached to it, but if we just use it as what it is, which is an adjective, fat, then it's not a dirty word. It's just a way to describe a body who wears clothes like the crop tops, and they look amazing because they are carrying themselves with this confidence, and they're aware that they're proud of their body. And that doesn't mean they're not subject to the same insecurities, but it's like they have decided to do this anyway, and they really look good.
Confident is a slur.
It is, because it's like you're basically saying to someone like, oh, what, you dared to leave the house like that because you're so confident in spite of being like a big fat ugly troll.
I just couldn't do that myself, but what you're doing, I'm so
amazing.
And
it's like
wow,
oh,
you've got the ability to leave your house looking like that.
And part of that is also being like, oh, you dared to try and look fuckable to a world that doesn't think you are fuckable. Like, it all comes back to thinking that people are like either fuckable or attractive to other people or not. And it's like, what if I just want to be like attractive to myself and to be able to live with myself and to like enjoy what I wear and like enjoy how I look, which I know is fed in by like so many other things. But I would say like as a whole, I'm not really, probably because I've been in a relationship like my whole adult life as well. I don't dress to like be fuckable, and I never have. And it's just like so derivative, I guess, as to like why people get dressed and why people do this. Like, I don't leave the house being like, confident slay, like I'm Miranda Priestley, like walking down the street. Not Miranda Priestley, but you know what I mean, like the Anne Hathaway character.
Yeah.
Like when she's like, slay, I've got all these shopping bags. It's like, I wear clothes that I want to so I can live with myself, and it's not brave. It's just what I want to do in my life.
It's just... like, I'm not brave to be alive. Like, that's fucking so dark-sided to say about someone. Yeah. Like, they were so brave for existing like that.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you on about?
No, and again, it like ignores like so many intersections like of identity that like feed into this. Like, ugh. Like identity, body image doesn't exist in a vacuum, but like if we demean it to like confidence, then that is the ultimate vacuum, because there's so many societal reasons why people would or would not feel confident. It's not like something that's inside your heart.
It's just such a loaded term, isn't it? Like, when you call me confident, what you're saying is that you couldn't, like, you think it requires something.
It's like the equivalent of calling ill people brave.
Yeah.
I mean, fat people also get called brave.
I am brave.
You're very brave
girl.
Is there anything else you'd like to kind of circulate? We've got 5 minutes. I feel like you had other really good points. This is your bread and butter.
In part of the research that Seaham did, she pulled out an article by Gina Martin for Glamour, which is talking about like how the skinny trend really a patriarchal tool to keep women in line. And this TikTok went viral that was saying like, every time women get too powerful, the skinny trend reemerges to keep us all too tired to create and vote. So it's basically saying like, Ozempics come round, heroin chic come round, like as soon as feminism, it's such like a weird post-feminist like proposition to put out there, but to be like, as soon as feminism goes too far, as soon as like liberation goes too far, and in this case, in more recent years, as soon as body positivity goes too far, there's like this elastic band effect where we have to go back like to an extreme as well to like make those like liberating steps forward like less, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting But then there was a bit where she writes, like, she's just, like, picking it apart, being like, how women's worth is, like, tied up in thinness, and Gina Martin is a thin white woman. And then one sentence really stood out to me where she goes, patriarchy convinces thin white women with pretty privilege that they're sitting miles away from beauty standards when they're in fact not. And I thought that really tied into not the whiteness of the Navarra podcast, because obviously neither of those hosts are white, but like the way that they're discussing thinness, and like the way that they're talking about how beauty standards affects them, because beauty standards only affects them in the sense that they feel bad about themselves. But beauty standards affects me as a fat woman in my accessibility to life, my accessibility on planes, trains, buses,
automobiles.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Like, and not just that, like healthcare. Like, there's so many times where I've like literally like cried because I've not been able to access healthcare. I know, and that's like something that's gone on throughout my family, like my whole life. And not just that, like there's so many women who like can't get jobs because they're fat. People have messaged me before saying like, oh, I tried to sit down at a restaurant and they told me to leave because they didn't have seating that I could sit on. Like to thin people, beauty standards and skinniness, like skinny being back in to thin people just means that they'll feel shit about themselves. But skinny being back in for fat people means that we're being literally like pushed into even more not objectification, what's the word? Like marginalization. We're just being oppressed more.
I agree. Like, definitely accessing healthcare and the NHS in particular. Like, I write also everything Gina said was right, and it's like fact checked in my book as well. Like, a lot of the same things, like fat women are less employable, they're less this, they're less that. But I also found the idea anyway, which is on the internet, so like it's not like applicable to anyone, but it comes up a lot in this research, in the Gina Martin article, in the podcast, in all these other things about like women body sizes like being reflexive of economy, which was surfaced by Naomi Wolf in The Beauty Myth in 1990. So obviously it's been going on for fucking ages, but I feel like the idea that women's bodies, bend and shape at the will of the economy is such a patriarchal version. Like, it's such a patriarchal notion in itself. Like, we don't sit there about men and be like, oh, look at their beer bellies. Like, that's because the economy's really good, so they're down the pub more. Oh, look at this. Like, men are balding earlier. That means they're like, depressed, suffering mental health issues because the world's shit. Like, we're in a recession, so men are turning grey. We don't do that. Like, and I just think it's such a perverse way of talking about like marginalized bodies as if they like bend and change at the will of like the economy and of society. And like, obviously it's a broader picture, again, intersects with capitalism and like the way we're sold products, because women's existence is so like beholden to that. But it's also like not this higher force. Do you know what I mean? It's not like the fucking, what's it called? Like the hemline index, the lipstick index. Like, we have control, like obviously not full control, but like bodies, we live in them, we exist in them. They're like actual 3D things, not something you can go like pick up at Superdrug. And to like describe them in such a dehumanized way of like, oh, women get skinnier when like their rights are gone. It's like, what the hell? I just find it so deeply disturbing to talk about like people in that way.
Yeah, there's a really great book called, oh my God, what's it called? There's a really great book by Deshaun L. Harrison called Belly of the Beast, The Politics of Anti-Fatness as Anti-Blackness. And in that he talks about how he's like a black fat trans man, and he talks about how fatness removes you from gender. And in that, like, that kind of like really ties into what you're saying about, like, because for people to say like women as a whole change what their bodies look like based on like the economy, it's removing fat people from womanhood, because you're saying that like if your body doesn't change by those things, then you aren't a woman in that sense. Like, that's the inferration. That's what's being inferred there. And it's just horrible. Like, and it also just like also adds to that rhetoric that fatness is something that people choose. Like, you would choose, people can have the luxury of choosing to be fat when the economy is well, but on like women's rights are good. But people can't choose to be fat, and they go back to being thin when like they don't have rights anymore. And it also, it's just like, and for a third thing, it's just denying the fact that fat people are notably more marginalized than thin people. Like, it's ignoring that whole intersection of fat people not having rights because of being fat, let alone also being women, also being black, also being whatever.
Yeah. too long, didn't read. Can everyone just think?
Excuse me.
Not you. You've made it. No, it's in for the whole podcast episode. No, your point is really good.
Thanks.
But yeah, I just think also I think it's like so in a vacuum, like to the point of like what we have been talking about cause and like things being orchestrated by the media, because like realistically, how many fucking people can afford Ozempic? And it's like a very small percentage of the population. And then like that comes with a whole other thing which is in the news of like people buying fake versions of it and getting ill. And it's like we talk about this thing as if it's like all encompassing in society, but like most people we know aren't sitting there like stressing about how to lose some weight so they can fit in with being skinny and getting a low-rise skirt.
Exactly.
Like it just has materially bad impact on people. Like ASOS, for example, have really like cut down on their curve offering. Like shops are cutting, I know it's fast fashion, but do you know what I mean? Like the material impact is bad in actual ways, not ways that, like you said, are just individualistic.
Yeah.
And obviously fast fashion isn't the most important one, but you know, we've been there.
They're bang on the money there.
We've been there.
Been saying.
We've been saying. Anyway, thank you, Gina.
Thank you, Ione.
Thank you to Siham for the research, and thank you to Olivia for editing, and most importantly, thank you to the listeners for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.